Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about that Kong. DK Bananza is out now. And also, what if we tried putting a Guillemot in charge of Ubisoft for once, huh? Why don't we try that? You know what? It's going to be a good one because we have Jan Ochoa on the show. Jan, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay, Grubb. Some maniac outside of my apartment decided to use a leaf blower for a good 2 hours starting at 11 p.m. last night. I felt like going outside and asking him some questions because why?
These are one of the big backpack leaf blowers.
Oh, yeah.
So I think this is in my state, but maybe it was just my city. They are talking about banning those things.
Really?
Yeah, because apparently they put out more like CO2 or something. They put out more emissions than like a 1,000-hour drive in a standard car or something like that, and they do that in an hour. So It's like this really wasteful thing.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't strap that to someone's back also then.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, they should be wearing like personal protection gear or whatever to use those things. They're probably getting hurt. Yeah, that's crazy. But they're super loud and annoying, and I also hate them, Jan.
Yes, I also made Jell-O yesterday after talking about it so much. I'll send pics.
You're the Jell-O king, right? That's what we said. You're the king of the Jell-O.
That's right, wiggly and thickly.
Well, we wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah, I played some Donkey Kong. That's been pretty good so far, I have to say. It launched last night. You could get it last night. It was like midnight here Eastern time. I started playing some, and it just immediately clicks. It feels fantastic is the thing. And that's just moving DK around, and you get the sense of like, oh, there is a reason for this team to kind of go do a DK game as opposed to a Mario game, because he just moves so different, and it's like a little bit more kinetic, and then a little obviously like his destructive powers, the strength, punching stuff really comes through as well, and that feels amazing. It feels very distinct from Mario. And then it just is. I can see my problem with this game, Jan Beam. There are like shiny little bits of gold buried all over the place. My brain's just like, get that gold. You got to go get that gold. You can't ignore that gold. And so like I could be progressing, but I just find myself continuously punching the hell out of the entire earth so that I can get more gold. And I feel like my progress here is going to be pretty slow. Have you checked this out yet? Are you going to save it for the weekend? You getting it anytime soon?
I may save it for the weekend, Grubb. I will say, I know I know that the game launched last night. However, as I was scrolling through social media and I guess like Twitch, I saw people streaming that very early yesterday.
Yeah, I think it was people in Europe and other regions where they were getting it a little bit early. Yeah,
these people didn't have the Cheerio accents. They spoke closer to you and I.
No.
Who's breaking street date? I need to know. Let me know.
Mm-hmm. For real. Well, let me know. Tell me when that happens.
It from everything I've seen so far, and the reaction and the reviews that have dropped, I am very excited to get my hands and have myself a little bonanza.
Yes, it is going to be a banana. Okay, the game came out, got a 91 on OpenCritic. I think same on Metacritic. It was not the best reviewed game that launched yesterday. I guess today is when it actually is out. So, but it was not the best reviewed game that came out. There's this game called The Drifter, it has a fair amount of reviews. It's got like close to like 20 reviews. But it's a like fast-paced point-and-click adventure where you play as a drifter that died, and you come back to life moments before your death, and you have to like investigate it and find out what happened. Okay. It's got a pixel art graphic style, 92 on Metacritic, or on OpenCritic, I should say. Pretty good for even, that's not a ton of reviews, but it's very hard to get into the 90s, even with 20 reviews. So yeah, I'm going to check that out as well, I think. Yeah, interested.
I'm going to give it a 0 out of 10, Grubb. I thought this was going to be a drifting cars game, and I'm sorely disappointed.
That's fair. That's just your opinion, and it's subjective, and you're allowed to have it. Yeah, we'll do some stuff with DK on this website at some point very soon. Might try to sneak it in at some point either tonight or tomorrow during the day. We'll see. In the meantime, though, let's explain ourselves and what we do here. This is Giant Bomb. Go to giantbomb.com/join to help us out. You become a member there. You get ad-free shows. You get some goodies. And it really just makes the whole thing go round. Helps us do what we need to do here. And, you could join the Discord and hang out with an awesome community, find a home base. I'm, up and down with how, like, the future of gaming, Jan, but one thing I'm, like, not up and down about is, like, I still want to hang out with the people who like games the way that we do. And we're trying to create a space to do that. giantbomb.com/join. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. You are watching live on Twitch. Welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Thank you, Sean. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Shadow Labyrinth reviews. This is that Pac-Man game, Jan. It's been talked up here and there. I think Jason Finelli really enjoyed what he played of it, and it sounds like people enjoyed quite a few aspects of it. But it got around a 75 on OpenCritic, and I think Jordan Biordi here at CG Magazine has a succinct way of saying kind of like what this game is offering up in his 6 out of 10 review. Shadow Labyrinth has a few interesting ideas, but this dark interpretation of Pac-Man fails to deliver on the fundamentals of a Metroid-like experience. So it sounds like this is what I've heard about this game, Jan, is it does have a pretty cool, interesting, edgelordy style that works to a certain degree. And then it has a lot of great references to the Bandai Namco, I guess the Namco universe primarily. And so like classic arcade games that would have been contemporary to Pac-Man, things like that. They show up in this game. I like that stuff. That Yars Rising game that was based on the Atari Yars Revenge. Ooh. Like one of the enemies in that game was called Missile Commander, right? And that's based on Missile Command. They're doing something similar with this game, but maybe like with even more of a production, like some more production values. Now, I was kind of hoping you pair that up with a really good Metroidvania, and that sounds like a really good time to me. But it doesn't sound like it was quite able to pull that off. Genghis Hussamedin from Xbox Era gave it a 7.5 and said Shadow Labyrinth is a solid 2D Metroidvania, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Its edginess has a lot of spunk and charm. Level design is solid, platforming is varied, and progression is well-paced. If you dig the idea of Pac-Man eating people as you explore a world pervaded in turmoil, this one's worth checking out. It's also probably worth pointing out, Jan, that this is a tie-in to that show that I can never remember the name of on Amazon Prime.
They had a Concord episode. There was a Mega Man
episode.
Level.
Secret Level?
There we go. We got there. Secret Level.
Secret Level. So there was the Shadow Labyrinth episode was based on this game. Apparently they were making this game already, and the show was like, oh, we'll make an episode based on that. But that's where most people are going to have seen it first. You play as a character where you have Pac-Man following you around kind of on a chain, and he sometimes eats people. He's kind of a menace. I don't know. Any interest in this game after these reviews? Because I was like, I will probably get to this one when I have time.
I think I'm in the same boat, Jeff. It didn't seem like anything that was specifically up my alley. I do enjoy, however, when we'll take an IP and put a new twist on it. So sure, let's have Pac-Man eat people, I guess. I can't say that I have the appetite, however, for more Metroidvania style games right now. But having Pac-Man on a leash of sorts does sound kind of fun.
Yeah, it looked interesting. I just kind of want to play it for myself a little bit. So that's where I'll maybe when I my replacement Steam Deck is on the way from Valve. So that's where we ended up with that. When that gets here, I will load this up on that and try it out a little bit. So that's my Metroidvania machine, and I'm going to keep it that way. Mick Abramson, there we go, gave it a 7 out of 10. Shout out to Mick. He said, Shadow Labyrinth is a great idea, however, poorly defined hitboxes, inconsistent mechanics, and overinflated difficulty bogged down what could have been a great experience. Again, 7 out of 10 sounds about right for this game. People seem to just like it, and that's fair. All right. Ubisoft names Yves Guillemot's son as new co-CEO of Tencent-backed Subsidiary. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. Ubisoft has named the co-CEOs of its new Tencent-backed subsidiary, including current Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot's son, Charlie Guillemot. The French publisher announced its unnamed subsidiary, which is partly owned by Tencent after a 1.16 billion euro investment earlier this year. The aim is for the subsidiary to oversee Ubisoft's 3 biggest IPs, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, and and they're going to act autonomously. I always struggle with that word. From its parent. On Wednesday, Ubisoft named Charlie Guillemot as co-CEO of the new venture. Charlie previously led Ubisoft-owned mobile studio Alleges before leaving to co-found a Web3 indie firm, Unagi, and rejoining Ubisoft earlier this year. I kind of vaguely remember that Unagi company from the Web3 weirdness. Don't really remember what they ever did. Charlie Guillemot acknowledged the nepotism.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, but I've worked in games for 10 years. Well, how'd you get those jobs? Look, Jan, I think the story here is clear, right? That we have talked about Ubisoft a lot over the last few years, and the story out of them has been, hey, we need to have a hit. We need to kind of get back on track, and we need to take what we've done in the past and find some new ways to express it and new ways to make it work in the market and find an audience. And to do those things that are new ideas, we're going to continuously turn to the same family, the Guillemot family, to be in charge. And everyone else will get either punished or laid off, or their game will get canceled. But we're still going to be in charge, to the point where even when the company was clearly falling apart and needed a lifeline, we are going to create a subsidiary and yet again put a Guillemot in charge. It's insane, right?
Yeah, 100%, Grubb. This screams of nepotism, the screams of corruption to continue to have. Why even split up the company at this point if you're just going to put another Guillemot in charge, specifically Yves' son? And hey, you can work 10 years in any industry and still not necessarily be good at the specific job, Grubb, that doesn't enable him to lead a company per se. This whole thing stinks, and again, like, I feel for not everyone else, but like everyone on the dev side, way lower on the ladder at Ubisoft than anyone at the C-suite level, because it seems like they're still finding ways to continue to have their weird boys club at the very top, and protect the people that shouldn't be protected. And it stinks. Like, we did that story maybe a week or 2 weeks ago about people getting their sentences reduced for terrible things that they had done to their employees. And that was under Yves' watch, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what a whole new generation of terrible garbage people may be enabled, or an existing toxic work culture can continue to be enabled because of that family.
Yeah.
On top of making shitty decisions.
Right. And that's been the history there. And it really, to me, makes the whole thing feel pretty cooked, where Assassin's Creed is, that's been all right, but like Far Cry, Rainbow Six, these are things that have, like, anytime they try to like veer off or try something new, or maybe they don't even try something new in the case of Far Cry, it doesn't seem to work, and they are struggling to, like, or if they try to go a big live service game, they are incapable of finding that. And instead of getting bold and trying new ideas, you're right, they kind of, the place they return to is, let's protect the people we've always protected, which are the people in charge and the people that they have shielded from any real consequences to their actions. It's like, okay, so is that the whole enterprise here? Is that what this business is really about? Is about making money for these specific people and protecting these people, and not necessarily about making good video games? It especially feels that way at this point.
Yeah.
For a company like Ubisoft.
Yeah. Like you said, Grubb, it always they've been leaning on Assassin's Creed for however long now, and there are different IP, different games at Ubisoft that they could be using to cater to the actual player, but they're actively choosing not to. I don't know. I still feel like it is insane how Rainbow Six Siege initially released to some excitement, but then kind of picked up that niche audience. And then it kind of blew up for a couple years, Grubb, and they were never really able to capitalize off of that. Instead, they continued to put their focus towards putting NFTs into games and making like the 12th extraction shooter in like a genre that people already really weren't that interested in, or at least like the wider video game audience wasn't interested in.
Yeah.
And hey, where the fuck is Splinter Cell, Grubb?
I mean, all those games that they were making from, I mean, okay, to me, it's like the party feels a little bit over for these kinds of companies making games for the audience that we're in. Where it's like, it felt like through the pandemic, they got the idea in their heads, like, let's really use all of this like free cash that's out there that we can get at 0% interest rates, and let's beef up, because when we come out of this, the business that we're in of making big AAA blockbuster games for an audience that wants to pay $60 to $70 to $80 for a game, they're going to be waiting there, and it's actually going to be growing super fast on the other side. And then we got on the other side, and it's like, well, no, that audience is what it was before. Why did you think it was going to grow? And now I think they don't believe in like that we're the answer, that we're the solution to their growth problems. And so it's like, you know, you hear talks of there's a billion gamers coming online in places like Southeast Asia on mobile, and that's where the focus should be. And it's like, yeah, how can I possibly argue with that? Like, that sounds like a lot of people that could spend a lot of money on your games. A billion? There's a billion coming. Okay, that's more than the 100 million that buy a Switch 2. So yeah, I get it. But you know, so what like Ubisoft, you're going to keep making Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and whatever else, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. To me, that sounds like we're just doing these because these are predictable money makers, and we're going to ride that out. But we're not really trying to do new stuff in this space. And when we were doing fun stuff like making the Splinter Cell remake, that was for a different time when we thought this was going to be a growing space. And now that it's not, is that really worth it? So look, maybe that game does come out, but I would not be surprised at this point if they just let it fizzle away and it just ends up getting canceled.
Marino points out a very interesting fun fact here. In our top 100 games of the 21st century, there were 0 games from Ubisoft in that top 100.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
That's insane. And sure, you know, we're polling a very specific audience, like primarily our audience, but
yeah, but still,
that top 10 that everyone was submitting, it eventually broke containment and got out of this initial bubble, right? But I think, Grubb, Ubisoft has also poisoned their own well, where sentiment around the games is also just so dour, even for like their existing backlog of games. And we all have the sentiment whenever a new Ubisoft game that comes at full price, everyone will think, I'll just wait a couple months. Okay, I'll wait a couple weeks, and then it'll get dramatically reduced in price. It'll go on like a fire sale, and what was a $60 game, I'll be able to get for $20 if I just wait, if that.
Yeah, and I mean, those tactics are maybe they are okay. Maybe they have to do that because it's a byproduct of the way that they're viewed, and now it's this Ouroboros of like, well, we can't not reduce the price because there are people who just have grown and to learn that they won't buy our games until it hits this certain threshold. And we could try to be like, well, let's reteach them that Ubisoft games are of higher value. How do you do that? That seems really challenging, but whatever. they keep doing the same stuff over and over again because they have the same people in charge, and results aren't gonna change. And really, like I think entropy has just happened, where you talk about they've kind of poisoned the well for themselves, and no games in the top 100. To me, that says like people just have bad vibes around Ubisoft to the point where even when they think back on the games they really liked from them, like the Assassin's Creed trilogy, the Enzo trilogy, Enzio, like they were like, hey, I don't even feel that great about that anymore. And you kind of can't you can't repair that by doing the same stuff again. So it's like, well, maybe you do got to get a new team in there, and that is not their actual interest. Their interest is in making Yves Guillemot money.
Like it's wild, Grubb. Like they also just fumble the bag so many times with Prince of Persia. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown was our game of the year last year. And what has Ubisoft done since then? Not only are they messing up stuff with Sam Fisher, the Prince of Persia, Rayman, they've also made the rabbits not matter anymore, Grubb.
And that is a legit bag fumble. Because in a world where Pikmin 4 did better than ever with that one, and then obviously the Minions, kind of just basically just taking the torch from the Rabbids and running with it. They had something that really should have worked, and the fact that they had a Nickelodeon cartoon show, all right? It's like, well, keep turning that into something more. They couldn't even figure that out. Also, Ezio. His name's Ezio.
I didn't want to correct you, Grubb.
That's all right.
At least, out of everyone out there, Grubb, I know Ubisoft has had its problems. But at least they were able to publish a quadruple A game.
Wait, what's the quadruple A game?
Skull and Bones.
You're right. You're right. You know what? They just need to turn back to Skull and Bones, and that's going to be the answer. Their quadruple A game. I forgot they said that. Okay, let's keep moving here. Former Unknown Worlds leadership legal complaint alleges that pressure tactics by Krafton Inc. were used to delay Subnautica 2, basically to avoid paying the $250 million we've talked about as a bonus that would be owed if they reached certain revenue targets for 2025. This story comes from Samuel Roberts at gamesindustry.biz. The complaint concerns that $250 million bonus, and alleges owners Krafton Inc. sought to avoid paying out by delaying the game using pressure tactics. Krafton engaged in a months-long campaign to delay Subnautica 2's release. The complaint, which was filed in Delaware's Chancery Court, alleges it pulled key marketing materials, refused to follow through with crucial partnerships, and reneged on long-standing commitments to handle important pre-launch tasks. So essentially what happened here is there was an agreement, there was a contract, and now the people that were in charge of Unknown Worlds making Subnautica 2 are suing because they're saying, hey, we were in charge of this game. We wanted to launch it this year. We knew that we could, and we knew it would get us that bonus. And also, we had full control of the game according to our contract. So we were able to put it out, even if you disagreed that it wasn't in a good place. So what did you do is well, first of all, we do think the game was ready to launch in early access. And this is the position of the people that were in charge of Unknown Worlds before Krafton fired them. They believed it was ready to go, and they were going to launch it. And so they're like, let's do this. And Krafton basically was like, hey, we don't know about that. And then did not help in any way do any of the stuff that a publisher would traditionally do. So this left Unknown Worlds leadership team responsible for all those things. And they were going through and they were doing it until Krafton fired them. And they fired them for, cause. And what is the cause? It doesn't, they said a bunch of stuff like, oh, they were negligent and weren't doing their job. Although it sounds like just the opposite. It sounds like they were doing Krafton's job on top of everything. Of course, this is all alleged by this complaint. The real crux of it here is that the contract has a bunch of language in there about how Krafton can't do anything with the specific goal of not having to pay that $250 million bonus. That cannot be the motivation here. So if they are able to prove, even get pretty close to proving that Krafton acted in bad faith, then these people that were fired because Krafton wanted to take control of the studio so they could stop them from putting the game out this year, they're going to have a good chance of probably winning that money and going a long way. Now, Krafton has made some public statements like, hey, all the money that was going to go to the employees, we're still going to actually elongate the time frame where we're going to pay that out. That's 10% of the total of the $250 million. So $25 million they might still be on the hook for. The rest of that money was going to go to the leadership team who they fired. So sounds like a big savings if they can get away with it. This story just continues to be like, oh man, publishers are back to just being full on evil across the board, huh?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Grubb, because I feel like when I was gaining sentience in the video game industry, when I started listening to like all the podcasts and like really following specific writers, that was kind of the sentiment even back then. That was what, maybe 20 something years ago, where publishers really did feel like the enemy to some degree, because they were just constantly making boneheaded decisions that screwed over the developers, screwed over the audiences as well. And it is wild to see that across the board, that publishers are just in a race with each other, in a race with themselves to see who can be more shitty. This is terrible for the folks that work at Krafton. And we talked about it last time we brought up the story, but Subnautica, I think, easily could have cleared the specific goal because of that very dedicated audience from the first game. This isn't an instance where like a sequel is coming too soon, or where the original base game could have just been updated in such a way. Folks wanted another Subnautica game, and it was on the way, and the financial bonus incentive was also there. And, you know, new people in charge just said, fuck it. We're going to do whatever we can to take this away from them, to kneecap them so they don't win this race. They're not part of the Umasume Pretty Derby, you know? They're not trained. They're bad trainers, Grubb.
Yeah. People in chat are like wondering, like, is there something to the, hey, they worked on personal projects and stopped working on the game? Maybe. I'll say what I've heard from people. Like, word has gotten to me from people actually working on the game below the leadership team. They are all of the opinion, 100%. Even after Krafton's promising to do the good guy stuff and give the 10% still to the people that I would be talking about, that this is all about stop not paying that $250 million. That is the entirety of the motivation here. So that doesn't mean that there weren't mistakes made by the Unknown Worlds leadership team. Maybe there were, but that's not what anyone, or I shouldn't say anyone, but that's not what I've heard that people are concerned about who are actually making this video game. So, maybe there's more to it. Maybe we'll get more from that story. I would look forward to kind of keeping track with it. But at the very least, I think the motivations of Krafton seem very clear to me here, and the way that they're behaving seems to back up the what has been alleged in this complaint. All right. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Just real quick, Grubb. It just feels like from the tippy top, it seems insane to offer that as a bonus if the intent was never to pay it. And also that just feels like such a slap to the face of the developers that you employ, that like, hey, we're going to offer this. We don't think you can do it. Oh shit, you're doing it. Oh no. It's very scummy, and I hate that the theme of the stories for the last couple of weeks has been like a hot potato of publishers just making these terrible decisions. Like we were just talking about Ubisoft, then it was EA, then it was Microsoft. I don't want to see who is next in terms of shitty publisher.
Yeah, it's I always get frustrated when I hear people have complaints about the way a company's behaving, because it's like, man, the company just sounds like it's behaving the way that all companies behave under our system. So as always, fuck capitalism, just as a reminder. All right, so let's take a quick break. When we come back, plenty more headlines. You can miss out on these ad breaks if you go to giantbomb.com/join for the podcast versions, for later versions of the show. But in the meantime, let's go to this. This episode of Giant Bomb is brought to you by giantbomb.com/join. Join us there, become a member. It helps us make fun stuff. It gets you ad-free content. It also helps us make some extras here and there that we'll give exclusively to you as members. It's giantbomb.com/join for $10 a month or $100 a year, where you save $20. You can support us in making all the cool stuff that we make over here at Giant Bomb. Once again, that's giantbomb.com/join. Become a member now. All right, we're back. It's Game Mess Mornings. That's Jan Ochoa. I'm Jeff Grubb. I don't know if I pointed in the right direction. He could be over there. He could be over there. All right, let's get back into the headlines. Sonic Racing CrossWorlds Switch 2 version will have cross progression, and the full game will be on the card, which is interesting because it's going to be a 64 gigabyte card. So this tells us a few things. The story comes from Andy Robinson of VGC, that I think publishers are being like, whatever, okay, this is going to cost us a little bit more, but our game might actually sell to people if we put it on a 64 gigabyte card. And also, this game probably is big enough for this, but still, we have not heard about a third-party publisher getting access to any size Switch 2 game card smaller than 64 gigabytes. And as a reminder here, so the game key card thing has been a real problem for a lot of people. There's a lot of criticisms of it. I also kind of feel that way, where it's like, I would never buy one of those. I don't buy a lot of physical, so what does that mean? But I just feel in my guts like, if I were excited about, like, I bought Metroid Prime on Switch 1 and Link's Awakening and things like that. If any of those games had been game key cards, I would not have bought that. So it's like, if it's affecting me, people who really care about physical must be hating these things. And that maybe that's being reflected in early sales data, who knows? But Sega kind of following up what Cyberpunk did, and it did really well on the Switch 2 by having the full game on the card. Now they're doing that with Sonic CrossWorlds, which I think is just for a game aimed maybe primarily at kids. Mm-hmm. To me, this is table stakes. You got to do this, even if that card is a bit more expensive.
Yeah, this whole game cart debacle, Grub, it still baffles my mind, and I just think of, I don't know why my mind always goes to the poor grandma or the poor cousins or siblings sharing a game at Christmas time, even though we're so far away from Christmas, but big box retailers would beg to disagree. Yes, please just put the full game on the game cart, because I don't know, that is such an integral memory for me, Grub, just sharing cartridges at like recess or swapping that, or even just saving a couple bucks. Please. And hey, cross progression on as many games as possible, please.
Yes, it's that. I mean, I know we're in like specific positions to take advantage of cross progression, but still, like, just do it, because who knows who else is going to be in a situation like that. And I always appreciate it, especially it's like when I come back to a game after a year or something like that. Now I am playing on a different device and my saves are there. That's always so pleasant to see that. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I think I do think eventually Nintendo will offer up smaller game cards to developers and publishers. But it's early days, and it just feels like Nintendo is in their especially weird zone. I think launching a new console has just got them in their feelings, and they're being odd about everything they could be odd about.
I'm wondering, Grub, when do you think they're going to get less weird? Is it do you think it'll be a full calendar year, or maybe now that Bananza's out, maybe after Metroid Prime 4, will they like start getting normal and like give dev kits to developers?
I think the overall, like, the Overton window of Nintendo's weirdness is still going to be on the far weirder side of all these like other companies that are in the business, but they will become within their own like zone of weirdness. I think they will come down and be a little bit less weird after these holidays. So once they get through this first holiday season with the Switch 2, I think they'll take a breath and reassess some of their policies and other things, like, like you said, with the dev kits. That will probably start to loosen up. Part of it could just be like they are restricted on how many of these things they have available. Like maybe 32 gigabyte cards. They're using new kinds of cards compared to the Switch 1. maybe it's just like, oh, that stuff is pretty limited and we're saving it for all Nintendo's games. And as we get economies of scale coming into play, that will open things up here in due course. And maybe that due course will happen later this year. But I think it's like they're probably going to just be heads down on having a really solid first holiday. And they aren't going to worry about reassessing any of their behaviors until they get on the other side of that. So, yeah, I think after these holidays, they'll calm down a little bit on some of these weird things that they've been doing.
Okay, Nintendo, I'll throw you a bone here. All right, you got a busy season ahead of you as another another entity that have had a busy season. And okay, fine. However, Nintendo, just just give me the tiles, please. Just give me the Final Fantasy tiles.
Give them the tiles. That direct that is allegedly happening. Maybe next week or the week after that. People are like, Baldur's Gate 3 gets announced. We get an Elden Ring release date or something for the Switch 2. We start getting a bunch of these other things. I'm like, okay, yeah. Like in Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy 9 gets announced finally, and everyone can take a deep breath. Yeah, I think people are going to be in a good mood about this system overall.
You know what? I mostly want that for Mike. I don't have the biggest fondness for Final Fantasy 9, but I just want that for Mike.
Yep. I think he's earned it at this point. He had a good Wega Man yesterday. Don Bluth, even if he is appreciating some games that are pretty bad, I think he did good work regarding it.
This is gonna like that Don Bluth appreciation night is gonna look very bad if anything funky ever comes out about Don Bluth.
We would never take it out of context to make it sound like he is appreciating the worst sides of anyone. All right, next story. Virtuos enacts mass layoffs as gaming giant undergoes restructure. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, but we got some details about numbers. Eurogamer reported that, according to a spokesperson, around 7% of the company's global staff are facing layoffs. I think it's like around 300 people total, maybe 280 people. 200 people in Asia were impacted, along with 70 in Europe. And yes, 280 people. And then fewer than 10 people at Virtuos's French office, which worked on Oblivion Remastered, were impacted, the company said. Why is this happening? Especially for a company that just put out one of the more highly regarded remasters of the year with Oblivion, because Microsoft is cutting back on spending. Microsoft is a massive player in the space. They did a bunch of layoffs internally. They also cut back on spending on contract work and other things like that. So going from one project like Oblivion to the next project, well, the next project probably isn't there or if it was, could have got canceled. And that's kind of not just affecting Virtuos, it's affecting a lot of these contract studios because one of their bigger clients was Microsoft. So the fallout from that continues, and it's one of the reasons where I'm I am viewing all these stories through the lens, Jan, of things just generally feel pretty cooked. It feels like the video game industry is having a correction, where we were in one place where we thought the sky was the limit. Game Pass could get to 100 million subscribers. A new generation of gamers will come in because of Fortnite, and then they will start buying games. And none of that has really panned out. So, where are we actually? If in the corrected view of this overall market, feels like a bigger version of the board game industry is kind of how I'm looking at it now, where it's there are people who are passionate about this, who want to make games and do cool stuff, and they will do a lot of the work themselves to get the shit made and out to people. And that side of the industry will continue. The big, massive corporations coming into that space, is there room for them or enough money to satiate them? No, probably not here. Probably not right now for the amount of money they think they should be making. And is that because we aren't spending enough money? Certainly doesn't feel that way, because it's not. It's really those companies just got so big that they can't justify wasting their time making something that only makes $1 billion as opposed to $10 billion. Yeah, that's where I'm at with all this. Jan, any thoughts about Virtuos, having to lay people off after Oblivion?
This bums me out, just like every layoff that we've covered and every layoff that winds up missing us on the show. My heart goes out to those affected, of course. I just think that there has to be better protections, Grub, for these employees across the board, to protect them from the fucking terrible parent companies that they have.
Yep.
And a layoff is not just losing your job; it is losing proper footing underneath you. And God, it is so difficult for folks to. I know for a fact that it is difficult in the U.S. for game devs that have been laid off to find a new gig. I have no idea what the scene is like in Europe, in Asia.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just as easy or if it's any easier to get a job in Asia, or if some of those jobs are going to be sent to like a place where they exploit their workers. I have no idea. And I just think that maybe now, you know what? I thought about what I was going to say. I'm not going to say that. Let's just say eat the rich.
Sounds good. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can do that. Let's see here. People are just mentioning real quick that Square Enix has announced they're going to end support for Final Fantasy 14 on Windows 10. And yeah, I mean, look, if Windows 10 is getting its security support is ending, you have to move on from Windows 10 because look, I'm not saying that's a good thing. Microsoft, I'm at a low point with my love of Windows right now. I do not love it at all. I'm very frustrated by that operating system. But if we're going to keep using Windows and not going to be the kinds of people that go to Linux or whatever, at a certain point you just have to recognize you're on this ride that Microsoft put you on. And when they end security support for Windows 10, you got to move on because your system will just be compromised if you do not. So there's no reason to stay on Windows 10 to play Final Fantasy 14. You got to move on. So that's that side. It stinks, but that's where we're at with Microsoft and Windows and everything, apparently. All right. Zynga boss says Star Wars Hunters was no failure despite imminent shutdown. This is from Jason Finelli at GameSpot. Shout out to Jason. Typically, when a live service game is shut down by its publisher, the assumption is the game failed to perform in some way, usually financially, and that its underwhelming performance resulted in its discontinuation. Star Wars Hunters, Zynga's multiplayer shooter set in the Star Wars universe, is being shut down in October, but despite a lower than anticipated attach rate, Zynga CEO Frank Gibeau said it was no failure at all. Speaking with the games business, Gibeau said that the team at Zynga built a great tech base and a fun game with Hunters, but the game did not emerge as a viable business. Specifically, Gibeau cites a lack of organic installs from the license as a contributing factor in its imminent discontinuation. We had some issues with how we could explore intellectual property. Could you play Darth Vader or could you not? That sort of thing, Gibeau said. We ended up with a cross-platform game on Switch and mobile that ran perfectly. It was fun, but it didn't engage over the long term, and it wasn't a viable business. Sounds like a failure to me. But whatever. I think what he's getting at here is that they're happy with how the game looked and performed, and like how they were able to navigate having to use a license that is pretty restrictive. But the game still did not find, purchase or whatever. I guess really what I would ask you here, Jan, is what do you think the state is of a company like Zynga or really any publisher going to get a licensed property at this moment, especially one like Star Wars that seems fraught and difficult to handle?
Grubb, this is such a weird instance because for a while it felt like Star Wars was an IP that you could throw into a game and it would
bank on.
And it could bank on. And I remember when this came out, I remember you specifically had checked it out and you said, it's perfectly fine and maybe we should check it out. That never came to fruition because of scheduling stuff. But this was kind of always way, way, way back on my radar as a game to check out because of my appreciation and my fondness for Star Wars. And I think the Star Wars gamer audience has become so fickle, I guess. And maybe that's just the Star Wars audience in general, feeling like they've been oversaturated in more of a way than the Marvel audience has, where with Star Wars, we're just seeing canceled project after canceled project, and then like the game's just not measuring up to what the audience is after. But we will see a boom with something like Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yep.
And then like, I know that Andor is Star Wars, but for some reason to me it exists within in its own bubble in that universe.
It's not showing up at like the theme parks in any way, right? Like all
Yeah.
the Filoniverse stuff does, but the Andor stuff doesn't. Like, and that part of that is them maybe not anticipating a huge desire for merch or whatever. But there's just no like crossover between Andor and the other Star Wars stuff that exists. I think you're right. It's definitely Star Wars, but it's not having that effect. Now, Jan, I think I have an answer here for a Star Wars game that would work. A pod racing game, but instead of pods, all of the racers are Star Wars characters that have been turned into pod racing machines. And they're also anime girls. So it's a Han Solo, but it's a anime girl version of Han Solo with pod racing parts sticking off of her. Do you think that there's something there?
Say less, Grubb. My bank account doesn't look good right now, but I will cut a check.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's get this made. You know what? You make that game, John Drake. Look at me. You make that game, guarantee smash hit. 1,000,000%. You are sitting on a beach within a year of that game coming out and never working another day in your life.
Drakey Poo,
make it happen.
Drakey Poo, come over here, bud. Yo, Diet Cokes on the fucking beach. Drink umbrellas all day, every day. Star Wars waifu pod racer games.
It's just a license to print money. It really, I mean, go to town. Come on, are you kidding me?
No one
yes.
will care if Watto is racially insensitive.
if Watto's hot, yeah, they won't care.
Even if Watto still has a weird beard belly and that accent, I will let him guide me down a hallway to unleash a bunch of waifu pod racers.
Just the little pod droids or whatever, just like they explode into anime girls. Yeah. Make it happen. All right. Last handful of stories here. That stapled Nintendo Switch 2 that GameStop was accidentally sold to people. They would staple the receipt onto the box. And in doing so, the staple would go through the box and latch it to the screen of the Switch 2. And everyone got really mad at GameStop for doing it. It was like one in New York. That happened on launch day. They took that system back. They gave someone a repaired one. And then they have the stapler. And they auctioned off the stapler and raised $250,000 along with the Switch 2 that had the staples in it.
That's amazing. Grubb, I'm sorry. We have to rewind a bit. Someone in chat just came up
go back.
With like the best idea. And I'm sorry, folks, for derailing.
Let's do it.
Game Mess Mornings. And I'm sorry for inserting a bit of myself here.
No, it's time. It's the time to do it.
Pog racers. Thank you, Doomed somehow.
Well, I'm never going to think about anything else ever again. That's just going to be it up there now, huh? In the old noggin. Pog racers. Great. Never going to be able to watch that scene again. Cool. This is what we do on this show. Welcome, everybody. It's Game Mess Mornings. This should be the series finale. For some reason, we're going to keep doing episodes, though. $250,000 for charity. Good job, GameStop, I guess. And then Minecraft Movie is going to get the Lava Chicken song, which my kids still sing constantly. You have to what do you have to do? You have to do like some challenge or whatever to unlock it in there. Kids have been playing a lot of Minecraft, and I think I'm at a point now, Jam, where I'm paying for a server on Realms.
Oh,
and I'm thinking like, I need to get you all in there to justify the money I'm spending on this thing, because I'm not just spending money on Realms. They are also getting mine coins pretty frequently.
What?
And yeah, we're getting skin packs and like different like mods and stuff like that. And I'm like, I might just do something to one of these realms and then invite you all in there. Maybe we could do a Minecraft stream or something, because I'm in the mood for it.
Yes, I'm always in the mood for more Minecraft. Even if it's checking in, or if it's just a camera that is pointed at the server, a specific part of it that we just run somewhere, that'd be great.
That'd be fun. Yeah. I think it'd be cool even just to like have us all go in there and build something, and then let my kids see it and like let them judge it or something like that, and I could report back what they think. And then Super Mario Run is still a thing and is starting a Donkey Kong Bonanza event. This is from Nintendo Everything. Donkey Kong Bonanza is out on Switch 2 today. And to celebrate, a brand new event has started up in Super Mario Run. New rewards are available that can be earned by completing different missions. You'll clear your first once by simply booting up the mobile game and visiting your kingdom. Other missions involve collecting coins, defeating a certain amount of enemies, and more. Players can fill out 3 mission sheets in total, which provide different statues. Super Mario Run has seen some new life over the past decade, or the past couple of years, thanks to these collaborative events. This is the first time I'm hearing about this. Apparently, they've done events for Super Mario Party Jamboree, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, Princess Peach Showtime, and Thousand Year Door and Brothership. I had no idea they did that for Super Mario Brothers Run. I have not played Run since it came out, and I don't think I ever actually even bought it, Jan. It was $10.
Yeah.
I think I just did the demo version and never actually converted my purchase there. I don't know. It sounds pretty basic. It doesn't sound like they're bringing in a ton of like Bonanza theming or anything like that. So yeah.
I could have sworn they killed this game, but I guess not.
Yeah, I like, had you asked me like last week, I would have been like, I don't know if that's still going. I'd have to actually look, but apparently it's still running. And this is a good use for it. I mean, I don't think anyone like loves this game, but I'm sure someone would maybe play it because, or maybe people are just playing it casually. And if this is the way they find out about new Nintendo games, cool. Yeah, fair enough.
It's no Subway Surfers, but I always thought it was a missed opportunity.
Other than 1,000 Times Resist. Sorry, keep going.
Yes. I always thought it was a missed opportunity for the lack of cross pollination in some of Nintendo's games, Grubb. So it's cool to see this being implemented, even if it isn't Mario Run. But I don't know, it'd be really cool in Splatoon 3, for instance, if now suddenly there's a bunch of bananas everywhere.
Yeah, that's not bad. I'd like that.
Because of Donkey Kong Bananza. Grubb, this story popped up from Eurogamer. Can I just read you the headline, please?
Yes, please.
And this makes me want to throw up. Eurogamer, this is from Matt Wales. GTA 6 will earn $7.6 billion in 2 months and will be the largest gaming release of all time, investment firm predicts.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was just like, I mean, who knows? The analysts, right? They got to just kind of do their math and put stuff out there. But that doesn't sound impossible, and that's insane to me. 7.6 billion, because like, you know, I get the difference. A game is much more expensive than a movie, but dollars are dollars, right? Yeah. A dollar is a dollar. It's equivalent whether you're spending on a movie or a game. And so something being able to come out and generate $7.6 billion in spending in 2 months, that's, I guess, you know what, it speaks to the haves and have-nots of this industry. And that's kind of maybe where we're at with like this overall take on how this stuff is going. When we talk about, hey, is this space growing? We're not talking about Grand Theft Auto.
No.
Like that is clearly going to do just fine. It will grow. It has a life of its own. It has a sort of attractions of its own in terms of just bringing people in through social media and through video, live video, Twitch streaming, all this stuff, influencers. It's its own sort of economy. And that's what you need to be one of the massive games in this industry. And there's only room for a couple of those. So yeah, that's just a massive number, Jan.
Yeah. I with each new story like this that pops up, and I completely understand a lot of these are driven by analysts that may be kind of like outside of the video game industry or people like looking inwards and like saying like, oh, hey, we could make a bunch of money over there. This really takes the wind out of my sails for any excitement for GTA 6. I'm not the biggest GTA fan to begin with, but like every time one of these stories makes the rounds, I care less about the game.
Yeah, I mean, what it feels like it's going to take all. I mean, we've known this for forever. Every time it comes up, we're like, oh, games are moving out of the way of that game because it's going to take all the oxygen out of the room. But it really does feel like there's just going to be no money left for anyone else when this game comes out. And, that's obviously not going to be exactly how it works, but it sure feels that way. And, yeah, I think I'm with you where it's like I've never like loved any Grand Theft Auto since 3. They've been good and they've improved in quality, but there was that moment a moment of time when 3 came out where it was like just this cultural thing and passing the controller back and forth with friends at a friend's house right as I was getting out of high school. That was really magical. And then the games kind of leaned in a direction that was not how I was playing the game. Not that I dislike them or anything like that, but this just feels like something we talk about because of its effect on the industry and not necessarily because I'm infatuated with Grand Theft Auto. All right. You know what? We did not put the poll up from yesterday, but I'm going to have you all vote on it right now. Go vote on it. It just went live. Their link is there. Do you like the casting for the Zelda movie? Let's see if we can get to 100 votes real quick. I just posted it, so it's at 6.
Hell yeah. We're going to get to $7.6 billion, Grubb.
Just from this poll alone. I'm going to vote both are great because I like it. So yeah, do you like the casting for the Zelda movie? Both are great. Link is great. Zelda is great, or I don't like either. I posted the link in chat. Let's see here. How old is Grubb? Snack Shack asks. I'm 42 years old. Also, earlier, I remember someone asking, didn't Virtuos just lay people off because they just finished 2 major projects, Metal Gear Solid Delta and then Oblivion? And it's like, well, they specifically said it was about the changing landscape from a big player. They were basically saying Microsoft without Microsoft, but also beyond that, I've been told contract companies like Virtuos specifically are feeling the pain of Microsoft cutting back on spending and ending contracts. So I think it's a little bit more than just they finished 2 projects. They naturally would have had other projects and they were like counting on Microsoft or already had agreements. And now those things have been cut off. All right, I'm going to refresh and however many votes we get. Let's see here. Okay. 121 votes. That's good enough. That's a critical mass. Thank you, everybody. All right, the results are for do you like the casting for the Zelda movie? 0% said Link is great. But don't worry. That's because 84% like both. They said both are great. 8% are not happy with Link, but like Zelda. And then 7% don't like either. Hey, that's pretty good for a first casting announcement. That's when like all of the anxieties come out.
Yeah.
I always go back to Chris, what's his name? Was going to play Captain America. Chris, not Pine, Evans. Thank you. And I'm like, the Human Torch from the bad Fantastic Four movies, that's going to suck. And I was wrong. I really thought he did a great job. And ever since then, I'm like, I just don't let these casting announcements affect me one way or another. I have to see these actors in context. But that reaction is something that everyone still has, including me. I just kind of have to put it aside. And having 84% go, no, this is good, is I think an early win for that movie.
I think.
But Jan, let me ask you before we move on. Do you still like? What are the chances of this movie at this point actually coming out? Have they improved? How are you feeling?
I think it's something for Miyamoto, at least, to announce the casting for Link and Zelda. And I think Lex was talking about this yesterday, but Wes Ball has been very vocal about working on this film. And
he seems like a guy that delivers as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to come out. I still don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know what the tone is going to be. I'd be interested to see what leaked scripts may come out of this, because I just don't know what Zelda story you tell, especially when the actors that have been casted are so young. Because when I saw the baby faces of Link and Zelda, I think, all right, we're doing Wind Waker, which I wouldn't mind. It'd be cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be a pretty good story to adapt as well. I think they will have, to me, it feels like it's going to be an amalgamation. They will take tidbits from all the different stories and kind of put them all together. I'm finishing my show and then I'll be done in a second. All right, so new poll question. Let's get to that real quick. Have you played Super Mario Run? Yes, recently. Yes, but years ago. And no. We'll get the results of that. Talk about it on Game Mess Warnings here on Giant Bomb tomorrow. Speaking of Giant Bomb, Jan, it's Thursday, right? So we got voicemail dump truck later. We got some other stuff we're doing internally. So we might not have anything until dump truck. Is that right?
I believe so. A couple meetings, but then we will see y'all later for the dump truck. And then we got some fun stuff planned for tomorrow as well.
Yes, we have some fun stuff. Let's see. Tomorrow, Game Mess Mornings will return. And then we have the Peak F. We're going to play Peak. Again, we're going to try to get a bigger crew together because we're going to use a mod that lets you have unlimited number of people playing multiplayer. It might not be like 10 people, but I think we might have 5 or 6. And then before that, I might do some Donkey Kong.
Sure.
Because I'm like looking at it. I think the schedule's open, so I might play some Donkey Kong Bananza for the people. And then we'll still do like a quick look at that and everything because it's such a big game. Maybe even get that recorded around the same time. We'll see. All right, Jan Ochoa, I think that's going to do it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talk about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
It's the only way to start a Thursday, Grubb.
And shout outs to the girls manhandling that cat back there. She's feisty. She can handle it, everybody. Don't worry. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
Yummy like a gummy bear.